Hello, and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism through passionate people who do incredible things. Hi, I'm currently crafting a gorgeous gown in my head. Hi, I'm Trey, and I'm joined by someone who is probably crafting a gorgeous gown on a mannequin I can't see. Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi. I'm in the wrong spot and it's weird.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Woo,
do-si-do.
magic. How are you doing, Emily?
There we go. I'm good. I'm good. It's a sweltering outside. We're at midsummer and we're just trying to stay cool. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
How about you?
Same. For those that are watching this stream right now, you can probably tell that my hair is a little more poofy than normal. That's because when humidity and heat gets my hair, I suddenly turn into Monica from Friends. So be that as it may.
That must shock friends and coworkers. They're like, "Oh, Monica! Oh, wait, Trey."
Yes, that is my nickname at work, Monica.
Is it really?
No, totally a joke.
Can I call you Monica?
No.
Why not?
Because I said so, and it's my name.
It's your name. Don't give it to a fairy.
No. How's your week been?
Pretty good. Also sweltering. And I'm super busy making all kinds of glass things and getting ready for an art festival and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah. And you?
In a show. So.
Oh, yeah.
Currently getting ready for, at time of recording, it's about 2 weeks away, Hunchback of Notre Dame at Little Theater of Gastonia. We open July 24th and run through August 2nd.
That's right. So if you're in the Charlotte area, Charlotte, North Carolina, right? That's where it's showing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where could someone go for more info if they want to come see you?
Ooh, what a great question. I don't have the website memorized, so please forgive me. But it is going to be littletheaterofgastonia.org. You can purchase tickets there. You can also purchase flex passes for anyone with kids. You can also take a look at their camps and classes, just as a nice little plug. But littletheaterofgastonia.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. But I'm very excited to talk to our guest today because she has something in common, I think, with both of us. And I think that we're going to get into a very lively discussion. So would you introduce our fantastic guest?
Yes, I'm excited about having a lively discussion. I'm sorry. Today on The Modern Romantic, we're joined by costume designer, educator, and theater artist Meredith Magoun. I didn't ask you how to say your last name properly, and that's my fault. Did I say it correctly?
Yes, you totally did, Emily.
Okay, good. Oh, hooray!
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Hooray.
A little nervous, that's good.
We are too. We're all, it doesn't matter. We always get really nervous before any one of these. So it's, except for Trey, he's calm, cool, and always this.
Don't lie to her. My gosh. Don't. Oh my gosh. Peek behind the curtain. I am so nervous before any show. I get such performance anxiety, and it takes until the curtain goes shh, for me to go and then I have to say lines, so I can't be nervous anymore.
Well, I have told people who ask me, they're like, have you performed? Do you perform too? And I'm like, I forget all of my lines and then I fart. It is the epitome of embarrassment. So no, I don't perform, not since I was like probably 16 years old.
Okay.
So.
My first thought, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so I always just like, absolutely not.
I was thinking like that actually might be how you could perform, is to create a character around that. So it doesn't matter if you forget your lines or fart.
Yeah, you totally could create some kind of, I think it would be a really funny, like burlesque routine that was like forgetful Nancy or whatever. And like that was the joke, and there was like hidden like fart like the bags, and you could like, I'm just spitballing crazy
No,
ideas.
like that's what we do too. No, you're good.
So yeah, there you go.
Like,
Forgetful
what if we
Nancy.
had whoopee cushions? Right.
Yeah.
See, now we've written half a show.
There's a very classic burlesque strip routine with like balloons, and they like pop all the balloons.
Mhm.
Okay.
If you just like squeeze the whoopee cushions.
Oh yeah, okay.
You could get a lot of audience participation with that.
Yeah.
There's a woman. Okay, I saw the look on your
You
face.
need to
I'm like,
clarify audience participation.
okay, so because there are whoopee cushions that are there, you could like hide them under something, and so like as kind of a joke or that sort of thing, like invite somebody up on stage and like do like a little mini dance with them and have them sit down, and then that be part of the thing, a little bit of a gag.
I get it. I'm on board. So I was thinking, it was funny that like I was like, oh yeah, burlesque is totally the place for forgetting your lines and fart jokes.
The most appropriate place for that.
100%. That's where my brain went. So now you understand how I think.
I think we need here at the Modern Romantic, we should have a whole separate like sub show, like under this umbrella of Modern Romantic. We do like script readings and we do this. We need another one that's where you just get to sit and listen into these brainstorming sessions where we come up with show ideas.
Please, can we?
And we'll just get more and more off the wall and ridiculous, and it'll be great.
I have this dream that's like, everyone sort of plays around with the like, if you weren't, whatever your job title is, like what job would you do? It's like your dream job, right? It's like that ooh question. And sometimes I'm like, I think that it would be really cool to be in like one of those like those groups that like come up with just ideas, right? I forget what they're called right now. My brain is totally not coming up with the right word. Surprise. But you know what I mean? Like where they like, it's like like an incubator, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Like, and that like you're a consultant and your job is to like be given a problem, and then all you do is like solve for the problem. But like your job isn't to like create or make the thing once you've solved it. Like all you have to do is just spitball ideas all day long. That's it. That's all your job is.
I am in love with this job title, whatever it would be.
I know, right? Like, don't you just want to like sit around and let's be like, oh, it could be this, and I like an ideator, right? Like, like, oh, it could just, it's like throwing spaghetti on the wall or whatever, right? Like you're just like, oh, this thing, is it this thing? Maybe it's this thing. Maybe it's Post-it notes. Who knows?
Dear companies, you will receive my resume shortly. I am an aspiring ideator.
Yeah, an ideator.
Yes.
There is this thing called like, it's very corporate, and I do not live in the corporate world at all. Like I am, usually my tag is like costume designer, educator, and artist, right? Like that's kind of like, and I sit thoroughly in like education and educational theater. But if I had to like make the leap to corporate world, there's these people who are like consultants who are innovative design thinkers. And I'm like, they get paid a lot of money to do kind of like what I think any theater artist or artist who like has to make things in the first place. And that's like creative problem solving, right? Like that's like sitting in the what if, which is like my favorite place to live. This like unknown, right? Like the unknown. But you're given kind of parameters, right? Structure. But within that structure is this like, amorphous blob void that you then get to like bring into focus and sculpt. And that is really cool. And I think that like innovative design thinking is like what corporate people do who do that. And they get paid 6 figures, so maybe.
I'm 100%. I'm writing these notes down so that I can go look up jobs like this.
Innovative design thinking. Every time I did a workshop in it through my university where I was working, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm in the wrong profession.
Right.
I mean, if we take this idea and we run with it, how would you like to receive your residuals? Would you like to be paid in fabric? Would you like to be repaid in money? How would you like?
I prefer vintage jewelry.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay.
Valid.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Romanovs on this one and say the jewelry can be stuffed in my bra, and I can make a good fast escape.
She's got a whole plan around this. I love it.
You didn't think I was gonna run with that, did you?
That's wonderful.
Meredith, do we have to be worried that you're in the witness protection program?
No. I think that I am like a constant sort of wanderer dreamer person who like always has like one foot out the door for the next adventure. And therefore like the idea of like, oh, a quick getaway feels really romantic to me. Really great. Like my dream is to be like wealthy enough that I could just be like, hey, let's fly to Vegas for the weekend. And it's, Thursday.
Ooh, okay.
Like that's like, I don't want to like, I think like wealth hoarding is, not to be too political about it, but wealth hoarding is wealth hoarding, right? And at the expense of other people. But at the same time, like I would like to have enough money to just like, I want to go see that show in London. Let's go right now.
Right. I'd like lunch in Dubai. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, to go see Paddington like tomorrow.
I did see it.
I'm sorry, that sound escaped my body.
That's a great clip. I'm writing down this timestamp. Just the Trey gasp.
First of all, how dare you? Second of all, how was it?
How dare you? How dare you see Paddington? It was probably meant toward me, right? How dare I clip that?
Yes.
Well, I'll say that I am fortunate enough that my day drag allows me to have some time off. So we went, and my cousin got married in outside Barcelona over Christmas, and so when you have to fly to Europe, you might as well stop in London for like a hot second, right?
A Paddington second.
And then it's research. And it's a tax write-off.
Right.
Unsolicited tax advice. This is legal. Don't let legal.
How are we not?
Do not take this advice.
How are we not already friends? How are we not friends already?
Well, we are now.
Oh my gosh. We have to hang in the same actual room. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
how was the show though?
Paddington was delightful. I think that I'm assuming that you've seen like the villain song "I Want a Pretty Little Dead Things."
I haven't heard a single thing.
Oh, it's okay. So first of all, the aesthetics. I'm interested usually most interested in the aesthetics of any show that I go see.
Yep.
And right, like that's what Aristotle wrote in the Poetics. That's the spectacle part of the show, and so I'm always interested in spectacle. And it doesn't have to be spectacle like, bombastic, crazy, like CGI and people flying through the air, right? Like it doesn't have to be Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. It can just be like someone like turning on a light bulb and like, could be really cool that way. It can be spectacle.
Yeah.
And there's something really beautiful in like low tech spectacle as well as high tech spectacle. And Paddington is a really interesting mix between the two, right? So the bear Paddington is performed by a little person.
Okay.
And they're in the bear, but the mask of the bear is operated by animatronics and is controlled by the actor who performs the voice.
Oh.
And
So the mouth moves when
The mouth moves
that
while
would
the
match
actor
better.
is singing and doing things, and the performer who's the body is moving the body and like doing all of the body things, and then there's another person who's controlling that.
Fascinating.
And it's surprisingly beautiful, incredibly hyper realistic, and just so touching. And the story, of course, is really beautiful about embracing diversity, and basically, it's a thinly veiled story about immigrants in London. And coming to London and finding a home in London, and ostensibly Paddington, the immigrant bear, helps bring a family that's struggling to communicate and congeal as a family. They figure out a way. Paddington helps become the glue between these generations, and it's very, very sweet and lovely. And then there's this epic villainess who is running the museum, and she wants a Peruvian bear to kill and stuff and put in her museum, right? And she's got a lot of like daddy issues, like some hardcore, like my dad left me, so now I'm a villain, which is a little weird, but also kind of funny. Anyway, so that's the story for those of you who didn't know and wanted to know. And it's the production is just fabulous. The scenic design is just over the top. I mean, a lot of the shows that I've seen in London lately are very much in the maximalist aesthetic, from like a design perspective.
Okay.
And it feels very much like they are creating a world and a visual language of storytelling that's sort of very encompassing and like and lush, really full, and which I appreciate and really love, and very intentional details throughout the whole design. And then, of course, the costume design is always very interesting because this show is modern and contemporary, and therefore it's not that like pretty beautiful gown like that you have on your dress form that's like I'm building an 1890s leg of mutton sleeve with beautiful lace, right? Like a gorgeous walking skirt, whatever. No, you're not doing that. You're like having to take contemporary clothing and create a visual world that way, which I think is actually far more skilled and nuanced and harder to do because everybody wears contemporary clothing.
Yeah.
And therefore, like people's rear ends, right? Everybody has opinions about it and thinks they know about it. Right.
True.
So, right, like so everyone has opinions, and it's just because people have opinions about it, they think they know what costume design is, and they really don't understand like all of the intentional choices that go into making a show, or like why a specific item was chosen for a certain character, and how we're choosing to sculpt the visual language of the show. And a lot of times I think about costume design and clothing design. Like people ask me like, what's the difference between like fashion design and costume design? And
that's a good question. Yeah.
Right? Like, and so for me, my understanding is that one, fashion design is a business, right? And that there's a bottom line, and the goal is to create a line, a product, an objects of clothing that are sellable to an audience, a specific audience. So like, yes, you are trying to like create branding and storytelling to a specific audience, but ultimately your goal is to sell something. And as a costume designer, yes, our goal like is sort of to sell tickets to an audience, but that's not really my job. My job is to use clothing as my medium, my art form, to create, help and create three-dimensional characters on stage that, so the audience can like suspend their disbelief, right? And so it's much more focused in storytelling.
Yeah.
I think of myself as an interpreter.
Hmm.
Like, and language, my language is clothing. That's the language I speak. Does that, yeah.
I love
That
that.
yeah. Um, which, you know, if you watch like any kind of like sign language interpreter at any show or concert, like that, like how they interpret becomes an art form in themselves, right? Like
Yeah.
each individual identity of the interpreters goes into how they are interpreting each show.
Yep.
So that's kind of like where the individuality of like who I am and my perspective comes into those decision making, right?
It's funny that you say that and call that out as an interpreter. I hadn't really put that together, but it makes sense. I follow a local person to Charlotte, Sarah. Ooh, what is her last name? All right, I will look it up when I have a moment. But she talks about designing for some local theater companies, and she's recently done a couple shows with Queen City Concerts. She did "We Will Rock You," and
Okay.
then she was doing Evita, and she did a couple behind the scenes things talking about how she designed for groups of characters or specific characters, and how like what her process looked like, and kind of like inside her mind as she's working with the production team in order to bring this full concept to life. And it was fascinating to listen to her like think about these things and see the nods and to the that she was putting into all of these costume pieces.
Right, because everything that you see on stage and on film, right? Because costume designers work in a variety of media. Um, it's all intentional, right? Like no one is just like throwing something willy nilly up there, like hackumstance, right? Like it's just like everybody is like every component is a decision and a choice that's being made from, you know, and it can be as detailed and obsessive as like the width of the stripe on that shirt or on that skirt to the type of button to the stitch holes that you made for the buttonhole, like all of those little tiny details can be incredibly you know, as a costume designer, I can fall into like the trap of getting obsessed with those things, right?
Mhm.
Like I get a little like these little tiny details.
Mhm.
And it can also be like really huge broad strokes and ensemble on stage, like looking at it collectively. Like one time I was working on a production of Mary Poppins, and there's the, you know, the very famous song in Mary Poppins,
Yep.
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Please don't tell me I can't sing. Yay! I'm not a singer, but you get the gist.
Go
And
Trey, go.
yeah, you can take over,
Uh,
please. Thank you. Yes, very good. But we decided to do a black and white version of this song and scene.
Oh.
And it was a really cool collaboration between me and the scenic designer and the lighting designer. And it's a really great, I feel like, example of like when all of that like sings together, like harmonizes, when the designs are all like talking to each other and like inspiring each other. So in the show, the performers like spell out supercalifragilisticexpialidocious on like these boards, and the boards get like picked up off the set somehow. So the scenic designer was like, what if they're like on the walls of the set and they take them off the walls? And then we were talking about like, well, do we want all these like letters on the walls? Is it like alphabet soup and we pull out the letters for supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, right? And we somehow came to this idea that we're going to use like black lights, and like, wouldn't it be cool if suddenly the letters appeared on the wall?
Yeah.
ooh.
Right? Which is then it's like, okay, well then if everyone is in black and white costumes and they're in black light, which is the lighting designer's forte, right? Describing scenes and places in time using light. Then my job as a costume designer is to create like the three-dimensional bodies, and the scenic designers is the world around them, right? So like then now we have these cool things and this concept of this visual language that's this blacklight language, surprise, right? A great element of spectacle, right? The lights switch and they go SUPER and they like pull out the signs, and suddenly on these like pages that look just like wallpaper, we get supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And then the performers had, we painted invisible blacklight activated paints and pigments like onto the costumes. So when they
Love
stepped into the
that.
light, it glowed even more with like different colors, like red and orange and stuff. And then we also put like EL wire in all their costumes. So they like, there's like this breakdown where they sing the song and they're doing like this hand dance thing that's pretty famous in the routine. That's like, that was done in the Broadway show. So like we had the white gloves, and then they like flip the lights on their EL wire, and then they light up, right?
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah, it was one of those moments. The first time it happened, I too gasped just like you gasped earlier, Trey.
yes.
And I like got like surprisingly emotional about that as they're stepping forward, going SUPER, and I'm like sobbing in the audience because it like worked.
Yeah, I love it. I can picture this. This is so cool.
Yeah, it was one of the more cool and exciting projects. I really love, one of the things that I think that as a costume designer that's different than like a painter, right? Like we're both artists and we both create things. We use different mediums, right? But also like my job doesn't exist alone in a studio. My job exists with a collective, right? So I have to create like the framework and structures that I'm given are like the parameters in which I have to work. I usually refer to it as like the sandbox.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like that I'm like
Sure.
the sandbox that I'm in, I have the other designers, I have the director, I have the bodies that I've been given, the actors, right? And then of course I have like, the nuts and bolts physicality of it, right? Like how much time do I have and how much money and budget do I have and how much labor do I have and blah blah blah. Like that's the like not fun side of it, but
Right.
but like I have a lot of these like sides and like things within the box that I have to work with, let alone like the script. And then there's like also audience expectation, which I think is also where like that interpreting thing is really important, because like my job is to imagine what the audience is seeing and how they are going to interpret what they're seeing. Like, oh, that girl is wearing a blue dress. She must be the princess.
I see.
You
Yeah.
know, like, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that girl's wearing a black dress. Is she the villain or is she in mourning? Maybe she's both.
Right.
Right? No, Trey? Yes?
No, I'm thinking, or maybe she's just goth. Like I think to Lydia Dietz
Of
in
course.
Beetlejuice, she might just be a super goth girl.
Right, but in Beetlejuice, like Lydia's gothness and blackness is the language of black gets established differently than it would be if it was Oklahoma, right?
You know,
Right.
okay. If I saw black dress in Oklahoma, I would start asking questions.
Context matters.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And how we interpret and see it matters, right? So like that's kind of like my job is to imagine what the audience is going to be seeing and how they are going to interpret what they're seeing. And then be like, then it's like, yes, 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 ding, 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 wing, wing, winner, winner, winner. You are seeing the right thing. She is the villain. Or it's like Lydia Dietz, where it's like, oh no, she's not really the villain. You just had assumptions. Let's turn those assumptions on your head, right? So those are kind of like the basis of the foundation, I guess, of what I do. Does that?
does.
Yeah.
Has there been a time, because you talked about playing with expectations, like knowing where those boundaries are and being an interpreter of that art and that character and the general concept. Is there ever a time that you look at a show and you go, "I understand the concept, but I'm gonna flip it on its head and maybe play with the audience expectations?"
Sure, 100%. And some of it can be like really subtle things that like maybe you wouldn't see. So like once again, I'll go back to that like Mary Poppins moment. Mary Poppins is called Mary Poppins because she has a poppy on her hat. But if
Oh,
you, oh,
I didn't realize that. Huh.
yeah. So, and this is like, I once had a mentor who told me that I could do whatever I wanted in terms of like costume design,
That's
not just
awesome.
as long as I knew better, right? But I had to like know better, which is her argument for research and like supporting your work and making sure that your work is like dramaturgically founded.
Yeah.
And you can flip ideas anytime you want, right? Like depending on like what the story is that you're telling, but like you need to know what you're doing and why, and like why are you flipping it. So Mary Poppins in the movie, which is what most people assume and have the association with, right? Like audience expectation, Mary Poppins wears that little black hat and she has a daisy in her hat.
Oh.
And it's not a poppy in the Disney movie.
Interesting. I don't think I ever
So,
noticed that detail.
yeah, yeah. But would you get it if she was called Mary Poppins and she had poppies in her hat or like on her lapel or what? Right? Like you'd be like, oh, whatever, sure, whatever. But like that's yeah. So it's in the book, right? Go back to
Mhm.
the
Okay.
original text. It's in the book. So like I decided with her hat, I kept like when I designed it, I kept it black, and I kept it like that little kind of flat, low crown, flat brimmed straw black hat, and I had a daisy on there so that like that was there, but I also had some red poppies added to it.
Ooh.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
that's not a huge detail of like totally flipping the audience expectations on the head,
Right.
but
Like
rather
she's wearing
a
a cowboy
very
hat instead.
right, a very small intentional like you know. I think that when I'm teaching my students, I talk to them about like the difference between a concept and a metaphor. I'm sorry, there's a siren going by.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But I talk about the difference between concepts and metaphors. And it's always a lesson that's really hard for me to teach, but I think it's because it's hard to articulate like why and how. But a concept can be something like we're going to do Romeo and Juliet on the moon,
Okay.
Okay.
right?
Yeah, that's
And a metaphor using like or as um, gives us a visual. If we use it to help us create a visual language, then we are once again referencing back into the text in a way that a concept can feel like this is the text and I'm going to just put this thing on top of it that doesn't fit, that's sort of like a blanket that I'm just going to kind of like cover this thing up, versus a metaphor is like working with all the lumps and bumps that are within the structure and shape and form. Does that kind of, so like Romeo and Juliet is a play about, the longing and reaching for something unattainable in like the moon.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
not really, but like, and then you've got like visuals of like the moon and like the sky, but like also loneliness and vastness. And now you can start to pull things out of that, like color palettes of like space and ideas, and like maybe you do get to eventually that we're going to do Romeo and Juliet in space, and they're going to be wearing, astronaut suits. But first, we have this idea that is grounded in the script first and foremost, and then we can move into a visual language from that. Uh, and that's kind of what so like when like concepts also just kind of feel maybe like a little shallow. Um, and sometimes they can work and be really cool, but I try to avoid them from a design perspective, which feels, like I said, like all my stuff like grounded in the text, very dramaturgical, nerdy version of like how I approach my research and designs.
That makes it totally makes sense. It makes me think of this production that I had seen of Cendrillon, um, where they designed Cinderella's gown once she transforms into the ball gown to be made of the ashes of which she was sleeping in. So, from a visual perspective, the dress actually ombre from white, and as it got down to the bottom was completely, well, soot covered at the very
Yeah.
bottom of that,
Cool.
but it made it look as because of the lighting design, as she walked around the stage, it made it look like she was hovering because you could barely see the dress moving, and it made it look like she was just gliding around the room.
So beautiful and meaningful, right? Like then it's like linked back into the text and the story and the origin. And then we've created this beautiful, unique visual storytelling and language that is just sounds really glorious. I can just imagine this like really beautiful dress. I think of like maybe even using like rhinestones and sequins and things like that to like add to the ashes so that it's like beautiful ash, right? Like from this destruction, from this dirty thing, we have this something magnificent rising out of it. And that is a beautiful metaphor, right? For Cinderella. And not necessarily just like, we're gonna do it on the moon. Because we can't.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you recognize like how that was like beautiful and compelling, even if you couldn't necessarily like articulate it or see like or all the whys, right? Like all the nitty gritty of like how that all became really meaningful. And to me, when I create design, like I always that's what I strive for is for those moments that are like deeply, profoundly beautiful and also heavily linked and compelling into the story that we're telling. And right, you know, another kind of one time I was working on a production of I've worked on two very different productions of this play called Intimate Apparel by Lynn Nottage.
Okay.
Which is about a woman named Esther, and she's a corset maker, and she makes intimate apparel for women, and it's set in like 1905. And she's
Okay.
she's a black woman in New York City, and a lot of this has to do with race and class and navigating through all these relationships and difficult places. And in one production, she's got this quilt, and there's this quilt, and I'm gonna spoiler alert. She keeps her money in the quilt, and her very bad husband takes all of her money out of the quilt. And there's this like really heartbreaking moment where she like rips open the quilt and gives him all the money just to like get him to leave. And she's like heartbroken that he's a philandering beehole, and you know like George, no good has ever come from a George. No, sorry. Have you run into that? Side note.
Everybody's mind starts racing. How many Georges do I know?
How many bad Georges are in literature and theater and like storytelling? So many. Except like Curious George, but he's a naughty monkey. Like, doesn't he get into all the kind of trouble?
Little naughty.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I would be hard pressed to argue with this one.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Esther and her terrible husband. So there's this quilt, right? And in one production, we built the quilt to be this like spectacular, like 26-foot tall backdrop that like came through the center of the stage and like laid out onto her bed. One of actually my students made the quilts, which was really cool. In both instances, I had students who made these quilts, which is very cool and a very exciting project. And then the other quilt for the other production was like a regular quilt on a regular bed, but also made specifically for our production. And they came to the costume shop and took all of the fabrics from the costume shop that were scraps, from the show, from the costumes, from the corsets that we were making for the characters, and they made this quilt so that she was like reusing all the scraps.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And that it, like, in the way that a crazy quilt, historically becomes like a map, a textile based map of someone's life, right? In this case, the life of the show. They use that to build a quilt versus this huge 26-foot tall one. We like couldn't do that with. So instead we made it into like the landscape of her life and kind of representing this landscape. And it was like we used like painterly landscape kind of techniques, like things being darker and smaller squares, like, or shapes, pattern pieces, lower that were in the front in the foreground. And as things got farther away, like into the sky, they got lighter and like and more hazy in color. And so like we used kind of landscape painting techniques to create this giant quilt. And in both cases, like they had to like rip them open and get the money out in the scene. And this is like also like a weird collaboration between costumes and like props and scenery, because
I was about to go there. Yes.
It's like this soft good that like, so again, it's sewing, right? So therefore costumes, like, we're the ones who sew things, but also it's not, it's technically a prop, and it's scenery. And since I don't create art in a vacuum and I create it with other people, like we have to like figure out what is this language that we're going to create together. So two very different types of quilts and two very different interpretations of like the same story. And then in the one that was like the crazy quilt with all the costume fabrics in it, like she like rips it, and like we stitched it every night by hand so that she could like literally like rip it. But the big one, we built it onto like with like Velcro holding it up in the sky, and she rips it down.
Okay.
And like it falls around her, and like she surrounds herself in like the thing that represents the dissolution of her marriage. Right? Anyway, I forget why I was telling you this. I'm sorry.
No, I forget too. I'm just wrapped up.
It was so beautiful comparing and contrasting these moments. And both were just like really lovely ways of thinking about how are we going to tell the story of this woman cutting up the thing that she spent so long, so hard. It was like a physical manifestation of her dreams, right?
Yeah.
That then gets cut up and given away to this man.
Ew, men.
Ew, Trey, ew. Ew, David.
Yes.
All right, that's official. We're adopting you.
That's right.
Yay, I need new friends.
That was the code word.
Oh, good. I got it. I've entered the Cool Club's Cool Kids Club.
Cool Kids. Both.
Yes.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's kind
amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great. Yeah, it's one day we'll find a way to honor Catherine O'Hara on this show. And maybe if it's just from like little quotes from that show, then that might be okay.
Have you had someone who's like a wig maker on yet?
You would be like our first one, probably, right?
I mean, I do know how to make wigs, and I have styled wigs for shows, but I would never call myself like a wig designer in the way that some of my friends are wig designers. Like I can do it because I have been in situations where a character needs a wig and I'm the only costume designer and I have to make the wig.
Yes, same.
Right?
I have, right. And I know a hairdresser that's been who helped me with a design that I had to ask her, can you take these two wigs and merge them into one bigger
Yeah.
thing, and she did that for me for a Marie Antoinette thing.
Zip
Uh,
ties.
zip ties. She made some like cage out of.
Oh yeah, yeah. You use a cage and then you zip tie one wig on top of the other wig.
Oh, okay. Maybe she did it that way. I don't remember. It's been so long.
Zip ties
But
are like
it
a great drag queen trick.
turned out so great.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
I hope she still has it because I think we let her keep it.
Cool.
Because she should keep that. I feel like that
Yeah.
she should have that. I don't
I've
think
only done a couple of Marie Antoinette wigs. But yeah, you build like a cage and then you have to like style the hair up and over the cage and defy gravity, right?
it's like a Marge Simpson
Yeah.
start and then
Yeah.
from there. Yeah, and then there's usually things added to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really fun, and I'll never forget that. I'm so glad that came up because I got to think about that again. That was one of my first ever recycled. It was the first ever recycled design I did. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Have you ever done like an unconventional, like the Project Runway unconventional design challenge where you're making something out of something that you normally like not fabric?
Yeah, yeah. So don't know if it's a good idea. Here's another example of like a concept, perhaps overriding like some good design choices. So here you go. Twelfth Night, right? Shakespeare, mistaken identities, twin siblings, a brother and a sister. You get lost at sea, separated at sea, and then they end up in two different households, and they decide to disguise themselves as each other, right? So like the brother's going to disguise himself as a sister and the sister's going to disguise himself as a brother, because nothing is funnier than a man in a dress. We have established this, right? And so 12th Night, huzzah, there you go. That's my
huzzah. That's right.
my whole story.
Forsooth.
Yes. And thus, yes. And so I had a director who had this concept that was about gender identities and expression.
Okay.
Which I think is, and this was also, most of my design, like 85%, 90% of what I do is in an educational setting. So like at universities, I get brought in as a guest designer to other universities and schools. I have a whole, that's like my whole career is like educational theater. So like this can be if you don't have a lot of like forethought, I'm trying to be like politically correct about how I'm going to say this, but if you don't really think about it before you make these decisions, you could get and like paint yourself into a corner a little bit, like proverbially, right? When you are like casting things, using non-traditional gender role casting, and then the choices that you're making. So I am like a big proponent of like informed casting choices, but this director at the time just kind of willy-nilly and was like, that'll be funny if that person's really a boy or a girl or a they or a them, or and this is kind of also an older director who is sort of like still having a really hard time with like non-binary identities and things like that. So this was their attempt at being more woke. So there's all these, like, for example, there's a character in 12th Night called Sir Toby Belch, right? And it's like a fat character who like burps and is awkward and gross and drunk all the time, right? And in this day and age, like, is that really funny or not? It becomes like a question in and of itself, or is it like sad and tragic, or is it something else, right? Like we have a lot of like different understandings about bodies and types of bodies and things like that on stage. So then like he casts it as a larger woman, and like I'm like, I don't know how you feel about you casting this role, and that for a person with a larger body, already it's an awkward role, but then you put it as a woman. And anyway, so like it got convoluted, and I had to somehow come up with an idea for costumes that was going to work for this very sort of messy show already, right? So I decided to make all the costumes out of vinyl.
Okay.
Because in the show, everybody is presenting themselves a certain way. And it's like exterior presenting, right? But internally, they have different struggles and different identities constantly, right? And if everything is always about like mistaken identities, and trying to disguise yourself or trying to present yourself exactly the way society wants you to present, wouldn't it be interesting if we could see into the underside and see through you and see, quote unquote, the real you on the inside?
Oh, so like a
Ooh.
transparent vinyl.
Yeah.
Okay, that changes everything.
So
I'm on board.
Yeah, so I made these Elizabethan styled clear plastic vinyl costumes.
Wow. Like that's
So
already kind of a challenging genre.
yeah,
And now you're
yeah,
gonna put it in wow.
yeah. And I think conceptually, I feel pretty strongly that there's a way that I could have done it better, but we could have also had like more conscious casting choices in which then the concept could have been like more beautifully and more elegantly solved than what we ended up with. But I think that the idea has a lot of merit. It just, we didn't think it through all the way. So, and me too, I didn't think it through either. So that's the thing, right? Like things that I forgot was that human bodies sweat. And
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a very sweaty, humid show.
which then they condense on their vinyl costumes.
Oh,
So you have like condensation crunch. Sorry. And
words that have never been spoken on our show before.
I
love this.
You did not know when you invited me that that's what you were getting. But
this is wonderful.
Here we are. Yeah. So
condensation crotch is the next. I'm saving this
it's the next wave in fashion.
Truly.
I'm ahead of my time, I swear. Yeah, so condensation crunch. And basically what I designed is like clear Elizabethan style costumes that you could see with modern contemporary underwear underneath that was their true self. So you could see how they thought about themselves and felt about their bodies as the character underneath. So for example, Sir Toby Belch, right, is actually wearing like really delicate lace panties and like sort of high femme, even though he's like running around burping and scratching his proverbial balls or whatever, right? Like
his condensation crotch.
Yeah. 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 So I think that the idea has merit. I just don't know if the execution was fully thought out. So this is an example where the concept perhaps is overriding good design choice, right? However, I think that there is definitely merit there for some ideas. I just have to come up with better ways of solving the problem. Like maybe it should have been made out of like really sheer fabric instead of vinyl. That was like almost that was transparent-ish. That we could see through, like really beautiful gauze and things could have been gorgeous.
Sure.
Like there, right? And then we could see kind of what was underneath would be kind of like hazy and kind of there in like an interesting way. I mean, there's something to be said about that, especially in a show that's all about like the pressures of like presenting one way when you really feel a different way, which is a lot of what 12th Night is about.
Right. I have one question, and that is, how did the cast respond to the costuming? Other than obvious condensation crotch was probably a lot of fun to deal with, but like what kinds of things were they saying?
They seemed in general pretty super game for it.
Okay.
And like Like some more people were like, "Oh, this is super weird." Squeak, 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 squeak. Also, it like made a lot of funny noises.
Oh yes.
Like, it was really weird. And like we quickly learned, for example, that like having sleeves like wasn't not gonna work. So like I cut all the sleeves off pretty early because like if your arm is down and like rubbing against your torso, like with your sleeve, the vinyl rubbing against the vinyl like wasn't gonna work.
It gets kind of like it sticks a little.
Yeah, exactly. Think of like those vinyl couch covers, right? From like your weird Aunt Mabel. Yeah, like that. That's what I used. I discovered all kinds of things. Like there's vinyl glue, and we ended up discovering that like stitching, sewing the vinyl, and then gluing the seams created the strongest bond. But then we also had to use like packing tape over the bond to even like more reinforce all the seams.
Because that would be clear. That makes sense.
Yeah, clear packing tape and
funny.
vinyl glue. Yeah. And then also like using a Teflon foot or a walking foot on your sewing machine. And then Scotch tape on the sewing machine plate so the vinyl doesn't stick to the plate.
So it slides. I have had that issue before because, yes, I have tried sewing vinyl and it's not easy.
Yep. And then it's also a one and done moment. So if you make a mistake, too bad. So sad.
Right. I imagine this after like a good run, they smelled great. Of course, you could just spray it with like Windex. Like
yeah. We just vodka'd them like normal, and they just right.
They could just hang out to dry because it wouldn't take long. You could hose it off in the backyard.
We did.
That's 100% what I would do.
Fans on them and everything. It was great. And my favorite part of all of this is at the very end, there's this song that they sing about the stars and the moons. So we put, of course, little tiny LED lights in all the costumes. So they all lit up. And then they were the stars and the moons. They were floating and singing this magical about, the stars and the moons and love.
That is fascinating. Oh, go ahead, Trey.
That is, I do have to say, that is brilliant of taking I'm trying to be politically correct. But it is, I think this is a great evidence of collaborative theater in order to make a concept more fully realized than when it started out. So kudos to you and your creative team.
My scenic designer made the scenery out of bubble wrap, which, by the way, is really freaking cool because if you do lights on it, the clear plastic little bubbles disperse the light and break apart the light, and we get different colored shadows on the bubbles, like individually. And you can like really change the color of it, and like it's a really fabulous way, like medium to project light on and make cool color moments with texture and stuff. So all in all, I think we created an interesting world, right? Because world building and storytelling.
Yeah.
Was it smart and wise? Was it questionable? Yes. But
you have such a great story that came out of it.
Right. And also I live in, like this was at like a Research One institution, right? So this is like big state school university with like, big, huge budgets and 20,000 students and right. And like, we're this tiny little theater program, but like, it's research and development, right? Like this was a what if question that we asked. What if we do 12th Night with clear plastic costumes? And we found out.
That's right.
Which is a classic science fair project.
Right.
Meredith, I have to say, I have to say, just this last hour with you has been so enlightening because I had realized that I've been thinking in a one by one box, and there's so much more that we could be doing. Um,
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I definitely want to make sure that we talk about our last guest that we had because they had a question for you.
Yeah,
Oh, great. I can't wait.
I'm
I'm
on
so
it.
ready. Yeah.
So
Um,
oh, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Every show, for anybody who's tuning in that's new, we asked our last guest, who was in this case Jane Ann Krentz, who is a novelist and a New York Times bestseller. And we asked her a question for our guest today. And we are also going to ask our guest today for a question for our guest next time. So Jane Ann Krentz asked the question, how do you choose the clothes for the character? What is your process for analyzing your choices?
Okay. Well, this is much longer than I think than a 5 second answer question. But it always starts with the script that we're given, and and then I always ask the director, why this play now? Like, what story are we telling, and why are we telling it today, now, with this audience, with
Mhm.
these performers, in this moment? And then I go, okay, so now I know like what the world is that we're kind of living in and what the important themes of the show are. Hopefully that's what I'm trying to get to, is like what's like the meat of the story that we're telling, and like what are we trying to get our audiences to take away from this play, and like what is this? Is it just simply to bring people joy? Or is it like education? I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be. And then I look at each sort of individual character within that framework, and make decisions. And if you think about like the clothes that you're wearing today, like why are you wearing the clothes that you're wearing? Is it because of how much money you did not have? Is it for comfort? Is it for because you're about to head out the door on a hot date and you want to look good and it's confidence building, right? Like all of those decisions, we all make them for the clothes that we're wearing, on a regular basis. So like your character would do the same thing. And so I always joke, right? Like the joke for costume designers is that we make real clothes for fake people. Right? So, but like we take into consideration like the real things that you would take into consideration. If you're not feeling well and you're sick, maybe you're dressing for comfort and ease. If you're going to a funeral, you wear something different. If you're going to work, you wear, right? Like, and then, and then there's also like uh, conventions of dressing and conventions in theater that you have to just like know and interpret, right? That's um, the black dress and the villain conversation, right? Like we had that like earlier, right? The blue dress is the princess, is the ingenue, right? But then also like color choices can be cultural. So like the usage of red in the United States means something than the usage of red in Japan.
Yeah.
And having knowledge about those kinds of things. I think costume designers have to wear many hats. Ha ha ha. Pun superintended.
Well said.
Hopefully that answers her question a little bit more.
Yeah.
It does.
At least quickly, without, I know we're at the end, so I don't want to like blah, 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 blah.
We'll just have to have you back and we can discuss it further.
I know. Well, that's why I'm a professor, is because I get to discuss it every day. And I love it. I love discussing it because
Yeah, that's fun.
it's just awesome. I think it's so cool. What a nerd. Me, I'm the nerd.
So are we.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
So our next guest is Helen Laser, who is an actor, writer, narrator, and voiceover artist. And she also makes clothing out of recycled materials. All recycled materials. That's just kind of a little, I don't think that's one of her main things, but maybe it is. We're going to find out next week. But for now, that is who Helen Laser is.
Yeah, she sounds really cool. And I want to know from Helen, this is a question that I ask like everybody these days,
Okay.
because I think that the world, like we see a lot of like memes right now and videos about like how the world is a dumpster fire, right? And it can be a big, scary world out there right now, and it can be a little
Hmm.
upsetting. And therefore, I am working really hard to practice radical joy and as a form of active rebellion and resistance. So this is my question that I ask like everybody. So
Okay.
what is bringing you joy these days?
Oh, I like that.
That's a great question.
Because there's something that's bringing you joy. You have to find it. And if you have a hard time finding it, please meditate on it. It's my plea to everybody in the world. Because if we all reach for the joy, um, then the sorrow and the fear cannot get us.
I think just asking that question forces people to think about it, which I think is
Yeah.
already
Yeah. Right.
changing.
Yeah.
Is powerful. I like that.
Yeah. So what's bringing you joy? I want to know. She sounds like she's got a lot of cool things on her plate that will be bringing her joy, though, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
would say so. But I got it written down. We'll ask her
cool.
next week.
Thank you.
Well, Meredith, my last question before we officially wrap up is if you could have lunch with anybody in the world, alive or dead, who would be sitting on the opposite side of that table?
Well, I think it would be a whole slew of really powerful women. Um, so, first and foremost, I'm going to get a little verklempt. I just recently lost my mother. And so I would say that she would have to be at the table. And that would, and then I would also say I would love to have a conversation with Oprah Winfrey
Oh
and
yeah.
Yes.
Hatshepsut and Queen Elizabeth. And I want to know about like how do you like keep going forth in a world that keeps telling you you can't do those things, right? And I think I'm sure there's like Joan of Arc should be there because like she seems like real crazy and like if you got a couple glasses of wine in her, girl. Just right, like I'm pretty sure. I want to know what like I don't know, like what was Lady Godiva thinking as she rode naked through the town? Right. I want to talk to the women who were burned at the stake and be like, what were your thoughts? What did you do? Way to fight the patriarchy. That kind of thing. I would love to have like this fabulous dinner party with all these women. I think it'd be really amazing. So,
I fully support this.
yeah.
I have been waiting for a guest for however many episodes we've been doing this to say Queen Elizabeth. And you are the first one because that is my answer. And I'm like, one day someone's going to say it. One day someone's going to pick it. I'm so glad you
I
did.
think I would actually like to have like 1 and 2 there.
Oh, sure. That would
I
be
think
fabulous.
I think that would be really fascinating to talk about like how women like the role that they had to play as women in power and like how they navigated through these systems, but also like Queen Elizabeth had like 1,000 gloves made for her every year, and I want to talk to her about that.
Yeah, what's that about?
Yeah.
Was she a
Yeah.
secret germaphobe? She didn't
She
like
just
her
really
hands.
she just loves coordinating outfits, like
Yeah.
shaking
She
that many
also
people's
like
hands.
refused to let blonde-haired women in her court.
Hmm.
I just like want to know. Yeah, and no red heads. Only she was allowed to have red hair.
I live by that.
I know. I can see.
No one else here is allowed to.
Anyway, she seems interesting,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yep.
same with Oprah, right? Like she seems like really fascinating and powerful, and I think I find like the idea of like her strength and perseverance really awe-inspiring, and also like she was older when she became famous, and I think that in like such a youth-focused world, like I'm now past the age of 40, and I'm like, oh, now I'm coming into my own, and I like want to talk to other people who went through that and like feel that.
I feel like there's a thread that's there because I've noticed a trend, but I think this is a conversation to have and maybe post on our Patreon, maybe discussing this.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, you are such a delightful human being.
Oh, thanks, Gray.
Please come back on our show. If you just say you want to come back on the podcast, like, please, we will absolutely have you back if you will come back on our show.
See, why not? Just call me up. You know how to find me.
And I lied. I do have one last question. Can I audit one of your classes?
That is a question for registration.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the answer. The answer is, of course, if you wanted to like drop in on one of my classes and like hear one of my like lectures, you're more than welcome to. This semester, I'm actually taking the semester off, but next semester, you're more than welcome to. I think I'm teaching. We're doing a stage makeup class that's going to be focused on special effects.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Because I think next fall, not this fall, but next fall, we're working on, here's a little secret. I don't know if it's 100% set in stone yet, so I might, but there might be something Halloween-y, haunty happening on the UNCC campus.
Okay.
So we'll see, but if we do, it's a huge lift collaboration between many departments: theater, dance, music.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, some kind of like immersive, thematic.
Cool.
Well, let me just keep my eyes out for what's happening there.
Yeah.
For those of you who are also in the Charlotte area.
Right?
Surprise.
How can we and our audience find you online to follow you or support you?
Well, my like social media handles are all just like me living my best life. They're like very, and
that's
they're
valid.
not like, they're not like artist based, but you're welcome to come like look at my like personal website if you want to see like my work. My portfolio is at meredithmagoun.com. And people can like reach out and drop me an email through the website and say, hey, and whatever.
Cool. Right.
And also like, obviously, if you want to come take classes at the University of Charlotte with me, I'm there and you can come take a class. And you don't have to be a theater major to take any of our theater classes. I think that that's something that people think that you have to be, but like my favorite students are like the nursing students and the engineering students who like just really want to be in my costume design class.
Fun. I love that.
Yeah. Totally. Well, thank you for having me, y'all. It's been real great.
So exciting. Well, I know what I'm going to do next semester. To our listening audience, as we wrap up here today, please go support Meredith and all that she does and all the work that she continues to do with her students and in her continued professional career. To our audience, also, we couldn't do the show without you, so thank you so much for listening. We want to give a major shout out to our delightful Jane of all trades, producer, advocate, etc., Sandra. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you're having fun on your trip. We love you. You can find past episodes from us on our website, themodrom.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. We do have a Patreon. Search for The Modrom on Patreon to see behind-the-scenes content.